Hey everyone, it's Final. I'm going to immediately start this video off by saying this video is going to have massive Jujutsu Kaisen manga spoilers. So if you have not read Jujutsu Kaisen and you plan to, or you plan to watch Jujutsu Kaisen or an anime only, I do not recommend watching this video unless you are willing to be spoiled. With that said, let's get right into the topic at hand. Is Ryomen Sukuna truly a fraud as people are pinning him out to be? Are the fraud Kuna memes valid? To this question, I personally answer no, and I'm going to lay out reasons for why I do not believe he is actually a fraud. And I hope you guys at least enjoy the video listening to me try to defend this character that is getting absolutely butchered. But in no means think that I think he was ever going to beat Gojo on his own. I never thought he was going to beat Gojo without using the 10 Shadows. I thought that was pretty obvious, which is kind of one of my reasons that he's not a fraud. But enjoy the Jump Force gameplay and enjoy listening to me just talk about this poor character that is just absolute. I've never seen a character get this bullied, like holy shit. So to start off, I'm going to talk about how the moment right when Mahoraga was summoned, the fact that Sukuna had been hit with Unlimited Void. I think everyone should know by now, Unlimited Void is just too fucking strong to not try to cop out of. Sukuna would have lost the fight then and there if he did not find a way to cop out of Unlimited Void. Unlimited Void is the strongest domain expansion, even compared to Malevolent Shrine, which is an S tier, no doubt. Malevolent Shrine is an S tier expansion. But how do you beat Unlimited Void? You get stunned, and then you're getting mollywopped by the strongest sorcerer, who, by the way, prior to this point, was literally fighting Sukuna hand-to-hand within Sukuna's own domain and winning. He was winning the fights. So no shit Sukuna pulled out Mahoraga. Next up is Yuta is stressing. Bro, I have never seen a character so stressed in my life. Especially in this verse, bro has probably summoned multiple curses by now just by his stress alone. Look at him. Look at this poor motherfucker's soul. It's over for him. Like, continuing on that point, like nobody else can beat Sukuna. Everyone else in the verse still gets dunked on. It's not like he's a complete fraud. These by the way are gonna be like the main reasons. Like there's other reasons that are more like it more depends on your perspective on storytelling, but these are straight up reasons to why he's not particularly a fraud. And it's not like he didn't plan to obtain Mahoraga. He went out of his way. He healed Megumi during Shibuya, and he fought off Mahoraga. And please keep in mind, he exorcised Mahoraga himself. So, like, sure, Maharaga's busted, but it's not like he's the win con. Like, completely. Sukuna himself has exorcised Mahoraga on his own in a battle. Of course, he was nearly lost, and he had to use the full extent of his technique using open... I don't know the full extent. Nobody knows Sukuna's technique. Like, I finished the Mahoraga point, so on to Sukuna's technique. Nobody knows what this dude's technique is. We know he has Cleave, we know he has Dismantle, we know he has Shrine, then we know he has the Flame Arrow, but where does the Flame Arrow come from? It all depends on what you think Sukuna's technique is. I think the two theories that I believe are either his technique is what truly makes him a fraud, which I will get into, but I think the other one is that he has a cooking technique, or like a technique based on cooking, because his technique was already compared to cooking tools, like they were compared to cooking knives when they were first introduced, when his techniques were first explained, like Cleave and Dismantle. And also, his only hobby is eating, and he kept someone around because they were a good cook. So I think it's entirely possible that he may have a cooking technique. Onto the idea of Sukuna having a fraud technique, I think he may have the ability to steal curse techniques or something along those lines. I think that may be possible. I don't fully know. It's the potential is there in which you could say he's a fraud, but he could have also stolen like 10 shadows. He may just be using Megumi's body as a vessel for domain amplification and things like that, and he may have the 10 shadows technique, like part of it, like in his own belt. But another thing, whether or not Sukuna's technique is a fraud technique or is a cooking technique or anything like that, Sukuna may have tamed Mahoraga, which would make him the best 10 Shadows user in history, ever. because nobody has managed to tame Mahoraga, and if he tamed Mahoraga, that would make him better than any 10 Shadows user in history, which you could say he's a fraud, but in theory, you could say because of that, he isn't really a fraud because he managed to tame the beast. He managed to be better than any 10 Shadows user that preceded him. I don't know. I think that'd be pretty cool. And also, people may make the argument that, like, ego. But my thing is, it's Jujutsu Kaisen. You're a pinnacle character. Ego is part of becoming the strongest. It's stated throughout the manga that you have to have an ego. You have to be greedy. You have to want it to become the strongest, to become the best. It's said to Jogo. It's said to Megumi. It's said to everyone. It's a normal thing. I also think, like, now that Gojo is confirmed the strongest on his own, and Mahoraga was required to be pulled out, like, Gojo can lose. We can let Gojo lose in peace. We don't need to sit there and dunk on Sukuna and call him a fraud. It's okay that he's a fraud. Even I don't really think he is still, and even if everyone wants to consider him a fraud, I don't think that's a problem. I don't think it matters to him. I also think that Sukuna himself, I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares about being the strongest. And you can kind of see evidence of this with the times that he talked to Jogo after fighting him, and also when Mahito was getting ganked and the domain expansion was broken through. Sukuna gets mentioned only living for his own leisure, not for anyone else. And the final, like, kind of main point I want to make, like the final point in general, is that Gojo's attacks that Sukuna has been eating, Gojo would have one-shotted any other character that we have seen. Can name him, Kenjaku, Yuji, anyone. They all would have gotten one-tapped by Gojo's techniques. Nobody is going to eat red, blue, purple. Nobody can do it. Nobody can do it except Sukuna. And sure, he's taken massive damage. He's taken enough damage for a domain to break, but he's still held his own. He's still alive. He's allowed Mahoraga to adapt by taking all that damage. It's like, I've heard other people say it too. Like, it's not like Mahoraga came fresh out the gate, adapted to every technique. It's every technique Gojo had. It's not like that. Also, Gege let out a statement saying that, like, the Limited Void has less influence on curse, like, because of where the brains work. It has less influence on cursed spirits, meaning that Mahoraga had an easier time adapting to Unlimited Void than, like, for example, if a human was using, like, if Mahoraga's techniques were in a human, like the Mahoraga's wheel was used for a human, you know, they wouldn't have adapted as quickly, I don't think. I don't know for sure. But that's kind of my rant about why I think Sukuna isn't a fraud. If you really want to think he's a fraud, that's okay. But I think you should cut him some slack. I don't think Sukuna is as much of a fraud as people like to pin him as. I think Sukuna is a great character, and him being a fraud is kind of what puts him apart, if you would like to say he's a fraud. If not, then you're on my side. I don't know. I think Sukuna is really fun. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling at this point, but I do appreciate you guys watching. I don't think this will change anyone's opinions on Sukuna, and if it did, I mean, that's cool. But I do hope you guys did enjoy listening to me ramble about why I think bro is not a fraud, and listening to me fucking frantically defend this poor curse over here. But also, hold on, last thing. Bro looked depressed in the Heian era. I think bro just wants an opponent to fight, and he may have summoned Mahoraga to keep the fight going, just so he didn't have to immediately die then and there. That's always the potential. The potential is there. He may admit loss. But, okay, now that I'm actually done, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I do hope to see you guys in another video. That'll be all for me. Have a good one.